Good morning, this is Pastor Keith Hodges, and I want to welcome you today to Everyday Sunday. And it is Monday morning, and I hope that you're getting started on a brand new week. I've got my coffee this morning, had me a cup already. I've already built me a campfire, and if you don't have a clue what that even means, you can listen to yesterday's message. Join us for our online broadcast yesterday and check out about the campfire that's become a part of my daily quiet time. But this morning, I want to welcome you to Everyday Sunday, and I want to encourage you this morning because I want to share with you a message today entitled Tug-A-War. Tug-A-War, and I don't know if you've ever played Tug-A-War, but just to be honest with you, Kelly and I, for years, as we've been pastoring Liberty Church now for 22 years, over that 22-year span, there have been times where we were Awana leaders, and there have been times where we were janitors, and there have been times where we were youth leaders, and we had an awesome time leading our youth and working with our kids over the years. And one of my favorite games that we play with the kids and with the youth is Tug-A-War. And we had this great big old rope, and we would have these awesome Tug-A-War things. And we actually, when we were doing Awanas, we had a 4-way Tug-A-War rope that was just amazing. And I just remember playing that game and seeing the struggle and the battle. And you never really knew, you never really knew who was going to win the Tug-A-War. You always assumed it was the bigger kids, but sometimes somebody would slip. Sometimes somebody would give a jerk or a pull, and the unexpected team or the underdog would sometimes pull out a victory. And today I want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about the reality that there is a real tug-of-war that is taking place inside each and every born-again believer's heart. So look with me in Galatians chapter 5, verse 16 through 18. The Apostle Paul says this. He says, I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. The word lust there literally means wars. And these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish, so that you are not free to do what you want to do without conflict. So Paul is telling us, guys, there's a conflict. And then he says, but if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. So listen to the Apostle Paul. He says that there is a spiritual tug-of-war that is literally raging inside the heart and life of every born-again believer. Your flesh wars against your spirit, and they are contrary. They are at odds. They're pulling against each other. There is a spiritual tug-of-war that is raging. And the truth is, I don't have to tell you that. You know that in the midst of the decisions you make, in the midst of the daily grind and the struggles that you face, in the midst of the good things and the bad things, there is this tug-of-war that takes place within us. There's the tug of our flesh to give in to the lust of our flesh, the lust of our eye, the pride of life, that selfish part of who we are that just wants to gratify our flesh. And then there's the Spirit of God that draws us, that tugs on our hearts to do the right thing, to walk in love and walk in forgiveness and experience the joy and the peace that comes from knowing and serving Jesus, and to help others experience that joy. And so there is this tug-of-war that is raging on the inside of us. And so Paul acknowledges that, and that's good because that just gives me a little validation that I'm not crazy, I'm not losing my mind. There's a real battle raging in every born-again believer's life. But I love the fact that not only does he acknowledge the battle, but I want you to hear this. The Apostle Paul at the very same time identifies the solution. Listen to what he says in verse 16. I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For if you are led by the Spirit, verse 18, you are not under the law. So hear me. So the key to winning the battle, in this tug-of-war is to start playing the right game. As long as we play tug-of-war, sometimes we're going to win and sometimes we're going to lose. Let's just be honest. Sometimes you win the battle and sometimes you lose the battle. Sometimes you say yes to the Spirit and sometimes you say yes to the flesh. And as long as we're in this tug-of-war battle, sometimes we're going to win, sometimes we're going to lose. But the key to winning, hear me, the key to winning every time, well, that's a powerful statement. The key to winning every time is that we got to start playing the right game. So we have to stop playing tug-of-war, and we have to start playing follow the leader. You ever played that game? Do you remember when you played follow the leader and you were going to go wherever the leader went, and they would try to make it as difficult and hard for you to follow them? They'd go up, they'd go down, they'd run around, they'd walk, they'd go fast, they'd go slow. And it's amazing, right? But your job 100% of the time in the game follow the leader was simply this. I'm just going to follow the leader. I'm going to go where you go. I'm going to do what you do. I'm going to say what you say, and I'm going to follow the leader. And I want just to encourage you in something today. If we want to win, hear me today, if we want to win, then we've got to stop fighting the flesh and we've got to start following the Spirit. I've got to lay down the tug-of-war rope and I've got to stop warring with my flesh. Hear me, this is so key. And I've got to just focus on following the Spirit. Because listen to what Paul says, walk in the Spirit and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. So the key to winning the battle against our flesh every time is to stop playing tug-of-war and start playing follow the leader. So I want to close with this morning. It's not our no to our flesh. It is our yes to the Holy Spirit that wins the battle. Think about that for just a minute. Have you ever tried to lose weight, right? I've lost 75 pounds and I'm very committed today to my health journey and just being healthy. I want to be in shape and I want to be healthy and I want to live long and I want to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and I want to be around a long time. I want to live to 120 and preach my own funeral. That's what I tell my kids all the time. But here's the realization. The key to victory is not my no. The more you tell yourself, no, I'm not going to eat that. 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 Guess what happens? The more you want to eat that. Because as long as you're fighting the flesh, you're sometimes going to win and you're sometimes going to lose. But what would happen if you stopped fighting and you focused on following? The key to victory is not my no. The key to victory is my yes. When I say yes to eating right, when I say yes to exercise, when I say yes to changing the way I think, when I say yes to renewing my mind, when I say yes to forgiving people and loving people and serving people and walking in humility, when I say yes to the Holy Spirit, that's where my victory comes. Listen to what he says, walk in the Spirit and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Let me encourage you today. Let's lay down our tug-of-war ropes and let's start following the leader so that we can find the victory that God has for us today. Have a great week in the Lord.